Good morning, everyone. It's great to be invited to speak to you today about the very topical subject of waste management. So I'm also delighted that Dane's joined us as well, because Forest Green Rovers have been certified by both the UN and FIFA, who's the football's world governing body, as being the greenest football club on the planet. So to have Dane along is really great. Just to give you a bit of an overview of Grundon, for those of you who don't know who Grundon are. Grundon are the largest privately owned waste management company in the UK. We operate across the south of England, and just a few facts about Grundon. We were established in 1929, so we've got 90 years of pedigree. We roughly do about 1 million bin lifts a year. And we are kind of accredited with being the first company to introduce the wheelie bin to the UK, so a bit of an interesting fact there. We offer a total waste management service, so that covers everything across the board all under one roof. One of the things that we've introduced in the last 18 months has been a coffee cup recycling service, which I know for stadium managers and people who operate large venues, that is a real challenge, and we're seeing great uptake in that. But we also do some very specialist waste as well, so hazardous waste and clinical waste. And we run a special events division as well, who also support large sporting events across the UK. Now, from working with a number of large stadiums, venues, we know the challenges that you guys are up against. You've got different complex usage patterns, multi-use venues where you've got sporting events, and when you're not running sporting events, you're using it for awards, exhibitions, events, conferences. You also have that seasonality, the off-season and then the peak season when fixtures are on. And even on a match day, you have peak traffic periods. We've heard this morning about throughput in toilets. And I'm sure Dane would back me up on this one. If you've ever tried to get a pint at half time, you know you have to get down there early. So we know that there's these peaks on match days. There's also the challenges of running back of house and front of house. Many of our customers outside of the kind of stadium and large arena market also have these challenges as well. So shopping centres, mixed retail environments. Back of house, there's a lot that you can do to control your waste. You can put in a number of different measures, but front of house, where the general public are involved, that tends to be where the issues come up. There's also budgetary pressures. Dane will probably touch on this a little bit later, but there is a cost to sustainability, and we do get approached by a number of companies who ask for the most sustainable solution, but there is a cost to that as well, which you have to factor in. You can't be green and do it cheap all the time. Customer expectation, or societal expectation, as we've heard. The Blue Planet effect, which mentioned earlier. There's a lot of public consciousness of single-use plastics, recycling of coffee cups, and challenges like plastic straws in venues. That we're seeing a lot of interest, and people are demanding that when they go to a venue, they want that experience where single-use plastics aren't involved anymore. There are also complex issues around stakeholders. So you may have a management team at a venue, they're working with a separate facilities management team or cleaning team, and there's also food, beverage and retail to add to that mix as well. And when it comes to seasonal and temporary staff, that's where education is key. If you want people to put things in the right bin, segregate waste correctly, it all comes down to engaging them and educating them. Now, stadiums are leading the way in many respects. There was a recent poll that said that 70% of Britons backed ban on single-use plastics. The Blue Planet effect is really taking effect at the moment. We're seeing a lot of environmental issues being pushed to the top of the agenda. I know we've heard about Extinction Rebellion earlier today, but only 3 weeks ago, amidst all the turmoil of Brexit, the indiscretions of Boris Johnson, the impeachment of Donald Trump, the main headline 3 weeks ago was about tea bags. And it was about plastic, high-end tea bags with billions of little plastic particles making their way into people's tea, into the water courses. That wouldn't have happened 2 years ago. The Blue Planet Effect has really brought things on, but it's great to see that stadium operators have really taken the game and listening to what their customers and society is saying. We're standing in this brilliant stadium today. Tottenham, this season, one of the clubs leading the way. They've implemented a ban on single-use plastics. There's a page on their website where you can read all about that. So it's really great to see stadium operators stepping up and pushing this agenda. But also the waste industry is there to assist with this as well. And this is where we're really proud of Grundon to do things slightly differently. Both the batteries are gone. Our laptop's frozen. Sorry, so just while that catches up, we are really proud to be different. We look to add value where we can with our customers. We do this through the operation of a carbon neutral fleet. That means that every time we collect waste from a customer site, we don't add to their carbon footprint. And the way that we do this is through the support of a community reforestation project in Uganda, where we offset all of our vehicle carbon emissions. We also operate our own facilities. These operate 24 hours a day. And an interesting point that wasn't in my script for the presentation, but came up earlier, was the fact that there we go. We generate more electricity as a company than we use, and we do this through using and recovering energy through waste. We also look to work in a bespoke manner with all our customers, and where applicable, we give a dedicated contract manager. We can supply nationwide maintenance and supply of compaction equipment. And we really look to work with a partnership approach in everything we do. It's all about honesty and transparency. And education, as I've mentioned earlier, is also key when it comes to working with temporary and seasonal staff. Now, how we do this is we look to drive the waste agenda through innovation and a creative approach. Now, when you think innovation, the first thing that comes to mind is technology. And we've seen some great examples of how that's being utilised today already. We're looking at a number of different initiatives, such as dynamic waste containers, for example. These two have screens which you can advertise on and make a revenue from. But they're also very clever. They use AI and machine learning to source segregate waste. So the waste is segregated inside the bin, and when the bin is ready to be emptied, they alert the facilities team who can come and empty that bin, meaning that you don't have overflowing bins, especially if you've got real pinch points such as half-time, full-time, when you're at the stadium. Space at stadiums can sometimes be an issue, so there's some real practical solutions that we can kind of help with, whether it be a dual recycling compactor, whereby you can have two different waste streams within the same footprint. And then we've also got green technology coming in with solar panels to power compactors, so you don't need a main supply. You can use solar panel technology to power those. Now, all of the compaction equipment is available through a company called PDE Waste Technologies, who Grundon are 100% owner of, and they supply this compaction technology to a number of different markets, so stadiums, healthcare, airports, you name it, they probably supply compactors to it. What PD do is they have a real service-driven business, which is, you can get compactor service within 24 hours, they carry all the parts, safe contractor accredited as well. But technology is only part of the answer. Creative thinking goes a long way to driving sustainability. Improving back-of-house sorting is one area where we can make real gains when it comes to waste. And if you could just hold that thought about back-of-waste sorting, we've got an example of where we're doing this with a customer coming up shortly. Improving that waste awareness and education. We offer a procurement consultancy, which Dane will touch upon later, but we can help you to buy the right containers for your waste made from post-consumer recycled plastics. We can also work with sourcing the right food packaging and the right cutlery, so you can dispose of it or recycle it in the correct manner. We also offer a design consultancy for waste areas, maximising the areas you have on site where you deal with your waste. But we work with a number of different partners across the events and stadia marketplace. These include Silverstone, Stadium MK, which includes the arena and the hotel in Milton Keynes, a number of prestigious tennis tournaments, including Wimbledon and the Fever Tree tournament at Queen's Club, and numerous race courses, including the Cheltenham Festival. And of course, Forest Green Rovers, who we're very proud to be partnering with. Now, we've worked with Silverstone for over 20 years, and last year there was a real milestone with our partnership with Silverstone, because we managed to sign a 10-year deal with them. And what that has allowed us to do is implement a wide raft of sustainability measures. So there's a lot of low-hanging fruit that we can work with in the short term with Silverstone, but in the long term, it gives them the security of knowing they're working with a company that shares their values and wants to drive sustainability with them. A few facts about the British Grand Prix, which is Silverstone's biggest event. On the Grand Prix day alone, they have 130,000 spectators coming to watch the race. At the end of the day, they generated 300 tonnes of waste, all of which was taken out from the venue by 11 o'clock that evening and was being recycled and reprocessed at Grundon facilities. That security of service was key for Silverstone. But they don't just operate one event, they operate numerous events across the year, whether it's the MotoGP, they have events, exhibitions, driving experience days. So it's a real, 52 weeks of the year that venue is being used. And they really wanted to work with a responsible waste management partner, and that's why we're working with them on a number of new initiatives, whether it be a deposit return scheme for plastic cups, recycling their paper cups and coffee cups, and helping them to eliminate single-use plastics across the site. Now, the case study I kind of said that I was going to come back to is the championships at Wimbledon. Another partnership where Grundon had worked for numerous years. But following the 2008 championships, the team at the All England Lawn Tennis Club, who run Wimbledon, came to the Grundon facilities to see what was happening to their waste. And one of the key things that they saw that was an area for improvement was the area of contamination. So we were taking out plastic cups, disposable plastic cups, bringing them back, but the majority of them couldn't be recycled because if they had fruit from pims inside them and things like that, because of the contamination, they would have to have been sent for incineration, which isn't great for their sustainability kind of agenda. despite the fact that for the last 2 years they've diverted all of their waste from landfill, whether it be through energy from waste facilities or recovery and recycle of their materials. So what we did is we implemented a real simple solution, which was twofold. We set up an eco team within Wimbledon and using their partners in food and beverage to assist with this. And we implemented a number of bins that would collect coffee cups and plastic cups all in one container. When these bins were full, we would just simply take them back of house where we had a sorting table and 2 dedicated members of staff would sort through the waste. And it's a shame the slide isn't here because it demonstrates it really well. But what they were left with was 3 really clean waste streams. So they had the coffee cups, they had the clean plastic cups, and then they also had the food waste from the fruit that came out of those. All of the food waste was taken for anaerobic digestion, so that was completely recycled. The coffee cups were taken to a specialist recycler, and all of the clean mixed plastics from the cups were taken away from recycling as well. And we're also very proud to work with Forest Green, which is why Dane is here today. And he's going to talk to you a little bit about the challenges as a stadium manager that he faces, but also the fact that he has this real drive for the club to be as green as possible. And we're delighted to be working with Forest Green for a number of years, and we're helping them to divert all of their waste from landfill and helping them with procurement of compostable materials, which Dane is going to go into. We believe that this will reduce general waste on site by about 80%, which has obviously the sustainability value to it, but there's a cost value as well. We also have compactors on site, so less vehicle movements, ally that with the carbon neutral fleet, and it's helping to bring down the club's carbon emissions as well. And an interesting stat that Dana told me prior to coming on was that now the club have been promoted to League 2, and they're definitely a club on the up, their waste volumes have increased through the number of supporters coming in. But if you look at that with the initiatives that our partnership is implementing, we expect the waste per head, per supporter, to drop by around 30% this season alone. So I'm just going to hand over to Dane now. He's going to give you a little bit more background about how our partnership is working.
Thanks very much. Hello. I'm not going to bother with that, given that it doesn't seem to be working very well. My name is Dane Vince. I'm the General Manager of Forest Green Rovers Football Club. I'm appreciating that the coffee's right coming up soon, so I'm going to keep this nice and quick for everyone. For those that don't know, Forest Green Rovers are based in Gloucestershire, in League 2. We were fortunately successful a few years back to get promoted. And for a number of years now, for around about 7 or 8 years, we've been taking a very strong sustainability approach to everything we do. So from day-to-day, long-term implementation, and obviously a lot of it's been discussed today, so I won't go over old ground on that side of things. In terms of what we've done on site, we've got solar panels on the roofs, we've got waterless urinals, we've got electric charge bays. The project list is phenomenal, and as Anthony kindly said, that is helping our sustainability message, and our supporters, like a lot has been said today, are expecting that. They're expecting you to recycle. We got pulled up by a 9-year-old kid in an event and had a plastic bottle they brought in. They said, "Where do I recycle this?" And I was like, "Oh, we haven't put the recycling bin out. Sorry, we'll go and get that right now." And that's a 9-year-old kid telling us that. It's incredible, it really is. The biggest one, which some of you probably heard, is 2015, we became a vegan football club. So no bacon butties, no sausage wraps, no quiches, none of that. And it marked a big change in our approach as a club, as part of that sustainability message, which was mentioned earlier about eating less meat. But also from my perspective as general manager on the commercial side, about changing what we do as a club from a football perspective. Feeding supporters good food. It is vegan, but a lot of it's made on site. A lot of it is fresh, and a lot of it is from our partners as well, which is really good. The downside to that is we do generate a lot of food waste, and up until recently that was going through effectively into energy from waste. So working with Grundon, we looked at it very carefully, and this issue of contamination for us especially came up often. Chip tray with chips, ketchup, mayonnaise, vegan mayonnaise of course, came up more and more. So we came up with the option of, well, why don't we just compost everything? And at first, I think it was your idea, which I thought was a little bit crazy at the time, but it actually solved a big problem. It generated some. You know, we really had to find some interesting products. Crisp packets are a nightmare to get as a compostable option because of the foil and the plastic. But from a front of house point of view, how fab it is for the supporter just to literally have whatever we've given or sold them hopefully into one bin. And from my point of view, that makes life so much easier to manage. It means there's less risk of contamination, but it also then overall, well, the slides up, so I'm jumping over them anyway, but overall, we will pay more per chip tray than your run-of-the-mill mainstream product, but we'll save 50% on our waste bill. So we're actually expecting, don't tell my boss this, but I'm actually expecting overall saving. I've told them it's going to be cost neutral, but overall it should actually sort of deliver some decent savings for the club. So we're going through, well, there's a lovely slide, obviously not up, 3 basic bins. Recycling mix, because we're still going to produce cardboard, and at the moment we aren't plastic free. There are a couple of products we haven't been able to bypass for very specific venue reasons. And then we have a compost solution, which we expect to take probably about 80% of what we produce. And then we have the red bin, the really bad bin, which is the waste from incineration, energy from incineration. Overall, we expect probably 90 to 95% of everything we generate will go through recycling or composting. And again, I've been a bit conservative. I think it'll actually go higher than that. But if my boss is listening, it's still 90 to 95%. As I kind of touched on, I don't have enough time to run the venue and do everything I want to do. I've got to find practical ways of solutions across the board, from waste, waterless urinals, all the rest of it. And for me, working with Grundon's been really useful for that. They're very open to ideas, and I think they've touched up on it probably on all the talks. There's not one solution probably for every venue or every sport or every area, but you can learn from different areas, develop them, and take some ideas as well. Now you can see there a few of the targets, which I won't really go over because we've kind of touched on them already. And then in the longer run, what I didn't touch on is we've bought a 100-acre development site just off the motorway, and it's our aim to build a new stadium from the ground up with all of the technologies right from the start. We'll probably nick a few from Tottenham as well if I manage to get a business card later, and really truly make it the most sustainable venue in the world. It's designed by Zaha Hadid, and it's a wooden construction, which if anyone does construction, it is going to be very interesting with the regulations. But we'll get it, we'll make it work, and it should be a fantastic venue. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Dane.